often get asked, what are some of your favorite books about writing, publishing, and marketing books? So I thought I would do a little series on my favorite books about writing, publishing, and marketing books. This is part one, in which I talk about books about writing books.
The Author's Switch.
Hello, and welcome to the Author's Switch, the podcast dedicated to helping new and aspiring authors turn on the author's switch to success in their mind. I am your host, Carma Spence, author of the best-selling books Public Speaking Superpowers and Home Sweet Homepage. In today's episode, I'm going to answer the question, what are some of your favorite books about writing books? Now, you may be surprised by some of my answers because they aren't necessarily books about writing books. They are books about writing in general, and these books have helped me write books. So here it goes. The first one is Zen in the Art of Writing, Releasing the Creative Genius Within by Ray Bradbury. This is a tiny little book that is a very quick read, and it's written by my very favorite author, who I have actually met in person, and I even have a little story about that I won't go into here. Now, this book is very inspirational, and it's written for writers as well as anyone who dreams of wonderful things. Bradbury has a delightfully childlike view of the world, a view I think more people should share. And if you just want inspiration to go for your dreams as a writer, regardless of what kind of writing you want to do, this book is for you. Book number 2 is Writing for Story by John Franklin. I was first introduced to this book by one of my graduate school advisors. She thought it would help me become a better science writer, and she was right. It's very good at that because it shares how to write what's called creative nonfiction, which is basically telling a story in a style of fiction, but it's nonfiction. However, what I found is that this framework, this methodology helps with any kind of writing. And so it's not only a wonderful read, but it's packed with really good advice. Franklin describes an outline method for writing that facilitates the writing of nonfiction short story. The method is also quite useful for fictional writing. And he also gives 2 examples of what are called instantiated outlines of successful stories he's written and analyzes the thought processes that he went into when he created them, which is very useful so that you kind of understand how that outline structure works. It's a great read. I highly recommend this book. The next 2 books I recommend are by an author named William Zinsser. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The first one is called On Writing Well. It's a very famous book. It's a must read for anyone who wants to write anything. Basically, he takes the anxiety out of writing and reasserts the joy. Just read this book. Attention, authors, speakers, and coaches. Does your website attract nothing but crickets and tire kickers? Then you might be committing one of the 5 deadly mistakes of homepage design. Home Sweet Homepage, How to Fix the 5 Deadly Mistakes that Authors, Speakers, and Coaches Make with their website's homepage will help you clear the crickets, repel the tire kickers, and start attracting the right kind of traffic that will convert to readers, clients, and speaking opportunities. Available wherever books are sold in paperback and ebook formats. bookmarketingclub.com/homepage book. The other book he wrote that I think is a really good read is called Writing to Learn. And this book is all about how writing helps you learn something. It's perfect for anyone who needs to help focus in on your writing. Topics in this book range from chemistry to mathematics to art. And the thesis of the book is that writing helps people learn by focusing and fine tuning their thinking. So I just think this is a really good way to not only learn the craft of writing from an excellent writer, but also gives you a methodology for learning anything that you need to learn as you're writing whatever it is you need to write. So I highly recommend that book as well. Now, here's another little sort of out of the box book that I recommend for writing books. It's called How to Sell Your Idea to Hollywood by Robert Kosberg. Now, I've never sold an idea to Hollywood, and I probably never will, but I really loved this book. It's a wonderful idea book. If you have an idea that you think might make a good movie, TV, or film, I recommend this book. I also think that it would be a really good book to help you vet ideas for any story. It has really good advice on idea development. What is a good idea? How to sell or market your idea. And for writing purposes, I highly recommend chapter 5. It gives a good skeleton story that can be fleshed out in a number of ways, aka the outline. Now, some honorable mentions that I think are also very good reads, whether you write genre or not, are 2 books by Stephen King. One is On Writing, a memoir of the craft, and the other is Dance Macabre, which I recommend reading more than once because it's kind of dense and layered. And then another one is called The Storytelling Animal: How Stories Make Us Human. This book is all about why we are hardwired for story. And I think it's really important that you understand why we desire stories and why we need stories if you want to be a good storyteller. And I think that's important for you to understand whether you write fiction or nonfiction. So that's my list of books on books that you should read if you want to be a good writer of books. In my next me only episode, I'll be talking about books that I recommend about publishing. This is your host, Carma Spence, signing off. Ciao for now.
The Author Switch at authorswitch.com.